Hey Chief, how are you, sir?
Whose phone?
Good morning. First, let me begin by thanking each of you for being here for this press release. Before we get started, I do want to introduce those who are standing here with me. We have the Acting United States Attorney from the Middle District, Peter Leary. We have John Edgar, Deputy Commander of the United States Marshals, Southeast and Fugitive Task Force. We have our Sheriff of Muskogee County, Greg Countryman. We have Robert Green, who's the Supervisory Deputy for the United States Marshal's Office. Richard Bilson, he's Supervisory Senior Resident Agent from the FBI. We have Mark Blackwood, Senior Inspector with the United States Marshals, Organized Crime and Gang Branch. We have Chris Wright, Senior Inspector for the United States Marshal's Office. Operation Washout River City was a task force that was formed using officers, investigators, and agents from the Muskogee County and deputies from the Muskogee County Marshal's Office, Muskogee County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, DEA, ATF, Georgia State Patrol, Georgia Department of Community Supervision, United States Marshal Service, United States Attorney's Office, and the Columbus Police Department. Operation Washout River City was held during the week of August 9th through the 13th. The main purpose for this operation was to target gang members and those violent criminal offenders, individuals with warrants. And we went out during this week to arrest those individuals. Arrests were made on 57 individuals that cleared 128 warrants. So that means that's 57 less people on the streets committing violent criminal behaviors. Those individuals were charged with a variety of charges, ranging from murder, aggravated assault, rape, sodomy, kidnapping, terroristic threats, robbery, armed robbery, possession of firearm during the commission of a crime, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, intimidation of a witness, violation of the Georgia Controlled Substance Act, Schedule 2 for cocaine, heroin violations, obstruction of a law enforcement officer, burglary, cruelty to children, cruelty to the elderly, probation violation, parole violation, and harboring. This detail shows the collaboration of law enforcement working together. And it also shows the results of what can take place when law enforcement works together. Very positive results. These are the results that we need to continue to take place as we go forward. And as we show togetherness in law enforcement, we encourage everyone in our community to work together with us as well as we work against violent criminal behavior, as we work to suppress violent criminal behavior. As I stated, this operation was utilized to target gang members and other violent criminal offenders. In order to maintain a safe city, we will continue to target gang members and violent criminal offenders. Let me state this very clearly. This behavior is not acceptable and it will not be tolerated. We will continue to work to target these individuals as we go forward. And at this time, our Sheriff, Greg Countryman, will come and give a statement. And he will be followed by the United States Attorney, Peter Leary.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning to everyone. I echo what Chief Blackman has just said. As Sheriff, I just want to let you know that organized crime in Columbus, Muscogee County will not be tolerated. We are going to take a zero tolerance approach. If you look behind me, these are our federal partners that we have collaborated with every agency to get this job done. The unique thing about collaboration is that we can broaden our reach to go outside of different areas, to look into matters, to look into things that maybe they have the resources that they can utilize to bring an end to some of the things that we're looking into. That we have had a great relationship with our federal partners, and I look forward to us working together because collaboration is the only way that we can get things done. We can use resources that we have, but when we can partner with our federal agencies, the ATF, the DEA, the FBI, the U.S. Marshal Services. I called the U.S. Marshal Services, we called them a few months ago because we wanted to do something in Columbus, Georgia that we don't want to accept. This is being the norm. We see things that's happening in Columbus, Georgia, Muscogee County. It's just not happening here, it's everywhere, but we don't have to sit idle. and allow things to happen in Muskogee County and Columbus, Georgia. The chief and I, we've had conversations about this, and we know that going forward that we need to be proactive, that we need to be intentional about the way that we go after organized crime in Columbus, Georgia, and it will not be tolerated. So we will collaborate, we will pull our resources together. I'm so enthused that we have our federal partners here with us that can actually look at these cases and put a different perspective on them. But thank you for coming out, and we look forward to whatever questions that you may have. I'll be followed next by the U.S. Attorney for the Georgia Middle District.
Thank you, Sheriff. My name is Barry. I'm the acting U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Georgia, and I just want to thank the men and women who came together in this operation and collaborated to make such a difference here. We, as the Chief mentioned, numerous agencies, federal, state, and local. We had more than 50 men and women in law enforcement who came together during this week, and that shows a shared sense of purpose and a shared effort that the priority in Columbus and across Middle Georgia, our top priority is to work on ending violent crime, to make sure that this is a safe community for all of our citizens. And that's something that's certainly a top priority at the U.S. Attorney's Office, which is why we're going to be looking carefully at these cases and these arrests and considering federal prosecution matters. And that's something that we have been doing already, and we're expecting to continue to do. This effort fits well with the Project Safe Neighborhoods effort from the Department of Justice, which is a top priority to work to reduce violent crime. And again, the key to like PSN succeeding is collaboration, is teamwork, and that's why I'm very excited that we have such great law enforcement partners here in Columbus, that we have an active PSN task force where we meet on a regular basis and consider cases that are coming through the system here in Columbus and try to identify folks who would be appropriate for federal prosecution, and again, use our brains, use the wisdom that we have here in this room, and really work to make a difference. So I'm here to say thank you to law enforcement. I'm here to encourage the community to join us, because law enforcement cannot do this alone, and we look forward to partnering with the community as we go forward. Thank you very much.
So as I stated previously, this collaboration shows that we're all in. We need all hands on deck to combat what we are facing in the violent crime that's taking place in our community. Federal agencies, state agencies, even the Georgia State Patrol was a part of this task force, if I did not mention them earlier. And our local police department and sheriff's office. We're working together, and we will continue to work together as we go forward. Are there any questions?
This is for you, Chief Blackman, as well as Sheriff Country. If you look at the dates that this occurred, August 9th through 13th, that was a pretty rough, around that time was a rough weekend in Columbus. We had 3 homicides. We had a 12-year-old kid caught in the crossfire and killed. Was there a correlation to the timing of those, and was anybody involved in any of the crimes that weekend part of this task force arrested? Any of the suspects?
Well, let me say this. As was previously stated, this detail was carefully planned months prior. I called the United States Marshal Service, the sheriff called the United States Marshal Service months ago. And the reason why we called is we'll receive assistance as far as to eradicate the violent behavior that was taking place in our community, to have the opportunity to have extra resources to be made available to us as we address the violent criminal behavior in our community.
Sheriff, would you care to answer that?
Thank you. Thanks for the question. I echo the same. This is something that was already planned. This is something that we have been looking at months and months ago. We saw certain elements of crime in our community that needed to be addressed, and we wanted to go after the most notorious criminals that we have in our community. And so the best way that we can go after them is to partner with our federal agencies. And as you know, that the United States Marshal, that they are known for going after the worst of the worst criminals, and that we needed to collaborate with them early on to utilize their resources. We partner, and we got other federal agencies to actually sign on to this as well. The correlation, I can't make any comments on that because I don't think that it would have had anything to do with that. Our greatest objective right now is making our community safer. And so one way of making it safe is to relieve the burden of those that do not need to be in our community and put them back to be.
And just let me say this also. The women that worked on this task force, they are definitely to be commended for the long hours they put in to do this job. During that week in which they performed this operation, they're to be commended, and we are definitely appreciative for the work that they put in to ensure the success of this operation. Yes?
Is this confirmation, I guess, from law enforcement that Columbus has a gang problem? It says about 1 in 5 of every person who was arrested was a gang member. Would you like to elaborate on that?
There are some gang members that have been identified in Columbus, and they were not just identified through this operation. They were identified prior to this operation. And we will continue to target those individuals and make the necessary decisions as it relates to them if they're committing violent crimes. As they are committing violent crime, we will target them and arrest them and hold them accountable for the actions that they are taking part in. So if there are no other questions.
I've got a question for
Yes.
Mr. Leary and
Okay.
the federal FBI agent that was involved. Yesterday, something that many of us have never seen in this area, $20,000 in federal award money was offered for information in the shooting of a 12-year-old in this town a week and a half ago. Nobody that I've talked to can remember FBI reward money coming into a case like this. Are you familiar with what the FBI reward money was put in and kind of who asked for it and how that money got into play?
Rich, do you want to speak to FBI or not? We have Rich Bilson here, who's the head of our FBI here in Columbus.
I don't want to comment.
Okay. Yeah, I think because that's an ongoing matter, it'd be best not to comment on that at this time.
Is it unusual for FBI to put reward money in what appears to be a local case like this? Is that unusual?
No, it is not. I mean, their FBI uses lots of different tactics and efforts to, again, encourage folks in the community to come forward. And so, again, that is not speaking about that particular case, but I know the FBI uses a lot of different ways to encourage folks to come forward and, again, do their part and help law enforcement to move forward in solving crimes.
One follow-up question to the chief. Did y'all ask for federal reward money in this case to help get some information?
Our police officers and our investigators, we collaborate with our federal partners, and where resources are available to assist us, we will take advantage of opportunities to utilize resources that are made available.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Here's one for you that is related to this, but is there a possibility of a Carver Park being closed following the events that happened last weekend? A lot of residents in that area have expressed concerns and suggested that as a way to curb the violence in that area. Do you have a response, maybe?
No. The police department does not make a decision as whether or not to close any particular location. That decision will have to be assessed and made by others. That incident that you're referring to occurred within Carver Park, but Carver Park has certain hours of operation, but that's a decision that has to be made at another source. Yes, in the rear.
Going back off the Carver Park situation, there's been some accusations in social media that how NCSD was involved in security for the event. So what statement would you guys like to make as far, and this is for Sheriff, what statement would you like to make as far as your role when you were hired for the event?
Well, we don't have any role in this. That was a part-time job that the person I can only say that the person that's making the complaint on social media, as of today, we have not received any official complaint from him, although that we looked into the matter. What I know is that they paid for 5 deputies to work the event, but they could only find 3 deputies. The sheriff's office had several events. Saturday, when I heard the call go out, I was just leaving. I was leaving from the jail. I heard the call go out. I went out there, and I also assisted with keeping people from entering into the back part of the park. But I've heard people to say, and let me be straight about this, and I've always been a straight shooter, that I don't see any liability on behalf of the sheriff's office, although that my heart goes out to the families and to everybody that fell victim to crime. And we need to be aggressive. The community needs to be vocal about this because we've had too many incidents to happen in our community. And social media is a way to go. We need to all stand up and have the spiritual fortitude. We need to have the courage to say that crime in Columbus, Georgia is not going to be tolerated. The police and sheriff and federal partners, we can't do it all. We have to have the help of the community because there are people that saw this. And from what I understand, that this was supposed to have been a back-to-school event. That's not the way that a back-to-school event ought to be happening. To the things that I've seen and the things that I know about that were in the park should have never been. And so I'm going to be upfront. I'm going to be straight with you. If I feel like that there was something done on the sheriff's office side, I will be the first one to say that we made a mistake here. But there was no mistakes made. That was a part-time employment that had absolutely nothing to do with the sheriff's office.
Okay, final question.
Mm-hmm.
How often, and this is for both Blackman and Commissioner, how often can we expect to see a collaboration over 8 agencies like this in Columbus, Georgia, like it was stated on August 13th? That following weekend, 3 homicides, and then we have an additional thing that's at 46 homicides for the year. So how often can we expect to see this full of force in our streets again?
Well, we want to make this a regular occurrence. As the chief mentioned earlier, that this is something that has to be planned out because we have to assess where we are. We have to go out and actually look at the warrants that are out there. What we're trying to do, because we can't tell the public everything that we know, but what we can tell you that we know is that we are making a diligent effort to try to make Columbus a safe city, because we have people from the outside coming into Columbus, Georgia. When we get that intel, we have to make sure that we can go in and track these people, hunt them down, and find them wherever they are. If they're within a close proximity, they can have ties to Columbus, but they may be in Russell County or they may be in Harris County. And this is why our federal partnership is so important, because they have the resources, that they have tools that they can use to help us to track down these individuals. And I don't want this to be underplayed, or I don't want anything else to actually overshadow this operation. Because what happened, we went after the most notorious individuals, and there are still some. And this is why we have to collaborate more, because after everything that we do, we assess what happened, the progress, the regress. I think this was a great operation, and I thank my federal partners that are standing back here, because we are walking lockstep together with this. And so there's going to always be work to do, and we are not going to give up. We're not going to give out. We're not going to give in. We plan to leave an imprint in this, and we plan to send a strong message to organized crime that we are not going to tolerate this in Columbus, Georgia. Our persistence is going to overcome what's happening in our city and county.
Sheriff, one more question. Speaking specifically about Operation Washout River City, one of the victims who ultimately passed away in that Carver Park shooting, I believe the sister was on Facebook Live, and she was basically saying, "We got to take back our city. These are young people out here that are doing these crimes." Can you speak to the specifics of? It says 1 in 5 potentially could have been gang members. Are these young people that you're seeing that are committing these violent crimes? Is there a trend that?
Well, when we look at the numbers, I believe that nationally the numbers are around 18 to 24. I echo what she says. We need to take back our city. And I'm not going to apologize for saying that we need to take it back, because I have different opinions, and sometimes I try not to allow my opinion to overshadow what's happening. We need to first recognize that there's a problem. Secondly, we got to have a solution. This is the solution. And thirdly, we have to be able to assure those that we serve that under our watch that we are going to do our dead level best to go after organized crime, gangs in our community. As sheriff, that we have looked at this, and we have redirected our investigative unit to focus on gangs and drugs now, because we want to show that we are doing what we need to be doing out here. So we've had to change our focus because we want the citizens to feel comfortable. These shootings and these senseless killings, it has to stop. It has to stop, and we have to all get tired and get to the point to where we all say enough is enough. You know, it's not about being politically correct. It's just about being correct. Because law enforcement, whenever we do our jobs, oftentimes we're criticized. I'm not worried about being criticized. I just want a safer community. I have children here. Every child that I see in this community is my child. I have a responsibility. We all have responsibilities that we take very, very seriously. And the criticism, you know, we don't worry so much about that. We have broad shoulders. We know what's at stake. We know where the problems are. We need to be able to get to the problems, and we need to be able to get to the thick of it. We're not going to get in the weeds. We just want to cut them down. We don't want to get choked out of us dealing with what the, social media and this and that. We know where the problem lies. That's why we have collaboration here. We have our federal partners here, because that gives us broader reach to where we can go directly where the problem is.
So as we stated earlier, this will not stop. Our efforts to suppress violent criminal activity will not stop. We will continue to focus on arresting individuals who take part in senseless behavior, commit violent criminal acts. We will continue to pursue them and hold them accountable. But we need our community to continue to support us in doing so. We're going to do our law enforcement piece, but it's not just law enforcement by itself. We need other pieces involved, because we have to change behavior. In order to change behavior, we have to change mindsets. And there are other components that goes along with the enforcement piece to change the mindsets. And that's what we aim to do. Thank you for being here. Let me just say this also. In addition to what we've stated, we also took 27 firearms off of the streets. 27 firearms were taken off of the streets. There were multiple that were stolen. Multiple.